All right, here we go. So this is me drinking my coffee. Mm-mm. And I let it sit too long and it's a bit warm. I'm getting on the cold side. So here we go. This is something that I did yesterday. I thought it was kind of neat and I'm going to try to do this quickly, but it's probably going to take 10 minutes because that's the way I roll. But let's see what happens. I'm going to be quick. So this is a 5-frame medium nuke. It's not a deep. I hate deeps. They didn't exist. Don't want to have anything to do with them anymore. I don't use them. I wish I didn't have to use them, but there you go. I've got a medium here. And about 2 weeks ago, I put 3 frames of Cat Brood in the middle and with a drawn comb on the side, and I gave them syrup on the top through a feeder, and I gave them a queen in a queen cage. And this is one of a bunch of different types of queen cages that are out there, but they all do the same thing. And basically it puts a queen in the cage where she's protected. She can hang out over here if the bees aren't nice to her, but when they are nice to her, they will feed her through this cage bit. And as they feed her, her pheromones will circulate throughout the hive so that when she is released through the cage, like say 4 or 5 days later, they'll all be used to her smell and they'll accept her, won't kill her, and everybody lives happily ever after. This section is the where the candy plug usually goes, and this is what I did. It was full of fondant, which is a very soft candy. And I was sort of rolling the dice with that because it was soft candy, and I knew they would probably eat through it quickly. This is why I prefer to release my queens manually these days, because sometimes they eat through the candy plug too quickly and they kill the queen, and the supersedure happens and they replace her. It's all a big mess. So, but anyway, in this case, I said, screw that, let's just give it a go. And so I wanted to see what happened. So yesterday I dug into the hive. There's the syrup. You give them a little bit of light syrup, like to emulate a nectar flow, because all this queen stuff does better. They do better when there's a nectar flow on the go. And there you go, making a mess. So one thing you'll notice here is there aren't a lot of bees, and I really should have put more bees in this hive or in this nuke. When I put it together, I should have, besides just putting the brood frames in there with the nurse bees on it, I should have taken some nurse bees from the same hive where I stole all that brood. I should have shaken some nurse bees into this nuke, so I really packed it in with nurse bees. And that's what you do. When you're doing anything with queeny things, queen cells, whatever, the more nurse bees you can throw in, the better. And I didn't do that. I was in a hurry. Going to work, and I just said, well, that's it, man. You got to roll the dice. You know, because I have a full-time office job that takes me away from my bees most of the time. I got to just, hit and run kind of thing. And so that's what I got. So I just wanted to see if that queen was laying. So I left her. I knew that this was probably, about a week since I had checked on them. And before that, they'd already released the queen, probably. So I just wanted to see if they killed her, if she was laying eggs, what was going on. And so as you can see here, we have a lot of brood. And I'm thinking, okay, great, brood, she's laying. They didn't kill her. Yippee, okay. But no, not necessarily, because you can't tell from this, but this is possibly a laying worker. A laying worker is something that happens when the queen either dies, or they don't accept the queen, or they kill the queen, or whatever, and they weren't able to replace the queen by making supersedure cells. So a laying worker just goes bonkers and decides to start laying eggs. And a laying worker, which could be any one of these bees, they don't know how to lay eggs. So when they lay eggs, it's just a big mess inside the cells, and they're all drones because they're not fertile. So it's basically doomed when you have a laying worker. It's a really bad situation. So I just wanted to make sure that's not what was going on, even though I saw open brood. And then I found, okay, look, oh, eggs, perfect, she's laying. And eggs that are really nice, da-da-da-da, everything's great. Oh no, look, we've got multiple eggs, and this is often a sign of a laying worker. Let's see if I can get another shot of it. Yeah, okay, hold on. Yeah, here we go. So look at this, like double eggs, double eggers. I call these double eggers. This one might even have 3 in it. And like, oh no, they're doomed. They're not. This is what we got. I got a laying worker, but it's not, because if we go back and look closely again at that first shot, you'll see. Is that the first shot? Yeah, that's the first. Okay, here's the first shot. Yeah. These eggs are dead center in the middle of those cells. And that is something that only a queen can do, because a worker bee isn't made. It's not even physiology. Just the physical characteristics of a worker bee just doesn't. It just doesn't work in terms of laying. They don't know how to lay an egg dead center in the middle of the cell, and they usually end up laying eggs everywhere on the sides of the cells. And then it's not just one or two eggs like this. There could be like 10 of them in there. It's crazy what they do. They're just all over. It's a big mess all over the place. But mostly you'll see that the eggs from a laying worker are not dead center like this. They're all over the place. They're just on the sides of the cells. They're everywhere. It's a big mess. So this is what this is. It's a queen who hasn't found her rhythm yet. And that's basically it, really. The first time I saw this, I said, oh, no, I got a laying worker. And no, it's not. It's just, if you look at the cells, you'll see those cells are the first cell, even the ones that have double eggs in them, 2 eggs in them. You can see the first egg, there's at least one egg that's dead center. So that's probably the first egg that got laid by the queen. And then she's just all messed up because she's in a new queen. She's in a new cell, or a new colony, different bees, or she's just a young bee, a young queen, and she's still figuring out this whole laying thing. And sometimes it just takes them a couple of weeks to just get it sorted out. And so the worker bees will probably, destroy these extra cells, or they'll eat them for protein or whatever, but it won't work. And it's not necessarily a laying worker, and it usually isn't when there's a dead center egg right in the middle of one of those cells, even if there is multiple eggs. And that's it. That's all I wanted to say. You've got yourself a queen who's just a little bit out of sorts, but so I'll check on her in about a week, and hopefully she'll have figured it out, and she'll just be laying nice brood all over the place. But I'm going to leave her alone until then. I don't want to disturb her. I don't want to just, mess her up. You just bet especially when you're introducing a new queen, it's better just to leave them alone, as much as possible for the first couple of weeks. And that's it. So, but yeah, I'm really impressed with, my queens, in August, because there's been a dearth, and there's not much pollen or nectar coming in, but the queens are still laying up a storm, and I love that. They're basically producing what they call winter bees, and yeah, I'm really impressed how much the queens are continuing to lay. And let me have a coffee here. Hold on. Yeah. I'm just so impressed by the queens, how much they're laying. It's great. They're not slowing down, and that's great, because now I've got a nice crop, I guess, of winter bees that are ready for winter. And so anyway, I took this queen. I found her later. I didn't spot her in the initial inspection, because I was just looking at brood. I wasn't looking for the queen. But eventually I put her in another box, a 10-frame box, with 5 extra frames of drawn comb, because every single cell that was available to her was filled with eggs. So she's laying, so she just needs more space to lay. And so that's what I did. I've got her in a 10-frame box now, still with some syrup, and I'm going to drop a pollen patty on there too, because they don't have many foragers. And hopefully they'll just build up strong enough so that they'll survive the winter. And there we go. That's the deal. I got myself another little colony.